She was locked in a metal cage beneath an alien moon, eyes glowing like fire, skin red as blood. They said she was a monster, a killer, a vampire from another world. But I didn't see a monster. I saw pain, and I set her free. She vanished into the stars, and I thought that was the end. But now, she's back, not alone, not human, and she says she brought me a gift. But it doesn't feel like a gift. It feels like a warning. And something is coming through the sky. Welcome to a new story. My name is Michael, and I'm the voiceover artist for this channel. Let's begin. She was never supposed to come back. Not after what she became. Not after what I saw that night beneath the broken moons. I freed her from a prison no one dared to open. And now, she's here again. With something in her hands that could change everything. A gift. She called it that. But when I looked into her glowing eyes, I saw death. And it had my name on it. Before we go there, you need to know who she really was. Back when they just called her the scrap dump girl. The first time Ray saw her, she was crawling out of a pile of broken machines. Old tech, dead bots, junk from 20 alien wars. Her skin was red, like rusted iron after rain. Hair tangled, arms shaking, eyes glowing faint like embers trying not to die. She didn't speak. She didn't ask for help. She just stared. Ray had seen all kinds of things in the outposts, but not like her. Not this thing that looked human, but wasn't. Who dumped her here? He whispered. No one answered, because no one else saw her. She wasn't on the scanner. She wasn't on the map. The other soldiers walked past like she was invisible, like she didn't exist. But Ray couldn't look away. He stepped closer, boots crunching old bone and metal. Her head turned, and slowly, like she hadn't moved in years. She opened her mouth. No words. Just a sharp breath, and a sound like wind in a dead canyon. Are you... He paused. Alive? She blinked once, twice, then whispered, Free me, or they will come. Ray's spine froze. He looked around. The junkyard was silent. No one heard her. But he did. And somehow, he believed her. He reached out, hand shaking, touched the old collar around her neck. It sparked, bit into his skin. His blood hit the metal and it sizzled. And then, she smiled. The collar fell off with a hiss. She stood, too tall, too still, like gravity didn't apply. Her eyes burned brighter. Then, she was gone. Vanished into the dark, leaving only silence behind. Ray stood there, breathing hard, hand bleeding. What had he just done? No one believed him. His report was erased. His memory called damaged. They said the scrap dump was empty. Always had been. But Ray knew the truth. He had freed something. Something old. Something powerful. And somewhere out there, she was waiting. It had been 7 years since the scrap dump. Ray never forgot her. Sometimes he dreamed about her. That glowing stare. That final smile before she vanished like smoke in the wind. He told no one. Not anymore. People talked behind his back now. Said he was glitched. That war had scrambled his brain. He didn't care. Because deep down, he knew something had changed that day. And then, it happened. It was just past midnight. Sky was clear. The desert base quiet. Still. And then a light tore the sky in half. Not a ship. Not a meteor. A rift. Like someone had cut open space with a blade made of fire and shadows. It bled color, red and gold and black, and from it, she stepped through. The same red skin, the same glowing eyes. But this time, she wasn't alone. Behind her floated ships made of bone metal. Silent. No engines. Carved with strange writing that twisted the air around them. Ray watched from the roof of the comms tower, breath frozen in his throat. She didn't land. She descended, like a goddess out of an old Earth legend. And when her feet touched the ground, everyone dropped to their knees. Not because they were forced, but because something in their blood said they should. Ray didn't kneel. Couldn't. She looked at him, eyes locking on his, across the open field, like time hadn't moved at all. And then, she smiled. Not a warm smile, not a safe one. It was the kind of smile wolves made before the kill. And she said 4 words. I have your gift. Ray felt it in his bones. She wasn't just back. She had plans. Plans that started the moment he freed her. And whatever was coming was already here. She didn't walk toward him. She floated, like the ground wasn't real beneath her feet. Ray stood still, hands clenched, heartbeat loud in his ears. Everyone else around him was frozen. Like time had paused for just the two of them. She stopped 1 step away, close enough that he could see the golden marks glowing on her skin. They weren't tattoos. They were alive, moving, shifting, breathing. She tilted her head. You look older, she said softly. Her voice was warmer now, darker, like a storm behind glass. You look different, Ray replied. She smiled again. That's because I remember who I am now. Ray didn't answer. His mind was spinning. She reached into her chest, not with a hand, with thought. And from under her skin, she pulled something out. A drop of light, floating, red, gold, bright, like a tiny sun wrapped in blood. This is my gift, she said. Not for humans, for you. Ray didn't move. She stepped closer, holding it out. It's not power, she whispered. It's memory, your real memory. What do you mean? She leaned close. Her breath was cold and warm at the same time. Humans were never weak, Ray. They were made to forget. This will show you what was taken. Ray looked at the glowing drop. It pulsed like a heartbeat. He didn't know why, but every part of him wanted it. What happens if I take it? He asked. She blinked slowly. Then you'll know what they hid from you. What you really are. Ray looked into her eyes. There was truth there, and danger, and something else. Fear? Before he could think too much, she moved fast, faster than light, and pressed the drop into his chest. Ray gasped. He saw fire. Stars. Machines the size of moons. A war that burned across galaxies. He saw humans standing beside her kind, stronger, faster, commanders of fleets. He saw himself, not as a soldier, but as something more, something ancient. Then the visions vanished. Ray dropped to one knee, shaking. Sweat poured from his skin like rain. His heart raced like it would explode. She placed a hand on his shoulder. Now, she said, you remember. Ray looked up and his eyes were glowing. The glow in Ray's eyes didn't fade. It burned brighter, stronger, like something inside him had been waiting and was now fully awake. He stood up, slow, feeling every cell in his body shifting. Faster heartbeat, sharper breath. Every sound was louder, every smell was clearer. He could hear the dust moving in the air. The red-skinned woman stepped back and looked at him with something close to pride and something else. Sadness. You're ready, she said. For what? Ray asked, his voice low, shaking from the inside out. She didn't answer. She just raised her hand, and the sky turned blood red. The ground shook. Rocks floated into the air. People screamed in the distance, then fell silent. Above them, a second moon appeared, a glowing red sphere, pulsing like a heart in the sky. Ray stared at it. It wasn't a real moon. It was a door. And it was opening. A beam of dark red light shot down from it, surrounding Ray like a prison of fire. "This is the trial," she said. Ray looked around, confused. "I didn't agree to this." "You don't get to agree," she said softly. "You freed me. Now you must free yourself." The light wrapped around him, and the world vanished. Ray opened his eyes, and he was standing in a different place. Not Earth, not anywhere real. The ground was black glass. The sky, endless fire. No wind, no sound, except a whisper. It came from behind him. He turned and saw himself, but twisted. His eyes were black holes. His skin cracked like old stone. And his smile. It was wrong. The copy of him stepped forward. "I'm what you fear," it said. "I'm what you'll become if you lose." Ray didn't wait. He charged. They clashed like storms. Fist met fist. Blood met shadow. The copy was fast, faster than any human. But Ray was more than human now. He remembered every vision, every war, every death, every win. He punched through the shadow's chest. It exploded into smoke. Ray dropped to his knees, breathing fire, and then he was back. Standing in the desert, the red-skinned woman stood before him, watching. He was different now. His skin glowed faintly. His veins pulsed with golden light. The wind bent around him, like the world knew he was changed. "You passed," she said. He nodded slowly. "What would have happened if I lost?" She smiled softly. "You wouldn't be here." Ray looked up at the red moon. It was fading now. But something told him that wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Ray stood in silence. The trial was over. But something had changed. He could feel it. Not just in his body, but in the air around him. The ground under his feet was no longer still. It hummed. Softly. Like it recognized him. The red-skinned woman stepped closer, her eyes calmer now, like a storm that had passed. "You feel it, don't you?" she asked. Ray nodded slowly. "I'm not human anymore." She shook her head. "No, you're not what humans became. You're what they used to be." Ray looked down at his hands. They glowed faint gold in the cracks of his skin. Not bright, but alive. He could hear voices. Not around him, inside him. Whispers in a language he didn't know, but somehow understood. He turned to the sky. It was quiet, but not silent. He could feel things moving out there, watching, reacting. And for the first time in his life, Ray felt like he was the threat. Back at base, the others didn't speak to him. Some looked away. Some stared like they were afraid. Even his old friends didn't say his name. He heard the words behind his back. "He's one of them now." That thing changed him. He's not Ray anymore. Ray didn't argue. Because maybe they were right. He could move faster than the eye could track. He could break steel with one hand. He could feel time, like it was as breathing. But the worst part wasn't the power. It was the loneliness. No one understood what had happened, except her. She waited on the ridge above the camp every night. Never spoke unless spoken to. But she was always there. Watching. Guarding. One night, Ray climbed up to meet her. He sat beside her on the cold rock, staring at the stars. "I didn't ask for this," he said. "No," she replied. "But you earned it." He looked at her. "Why me?" She looked forward, eyes glowing softly. "Because when I was weak, you didn't look away. When I was lost, you reached out. You freed me without asking for anything. And now, you are free." Ray didn't answer. His mind was quiet. But something inside him was rising, a memory that didn't belong to this life. He saw cities made of glass and thunder. He saw humans flying without ships. He saw battles fought in pure thought. He saw humanity before it was broken. The truth hit him like cold water. They weren't weak. They were silenced. Their power taken, hidden, sealed. But now one of them remembered. And the galaxy would feel it soon. Ray stood. The wind shifted. Somewhere out there, enemies were watching. And they were afraid. Ray stood at the edge of the canyon, arms crossed, eyes glowing faint like dying stars. The night was too quiet. No machines, no comms, just wind and her. She stood beside him again, the red-skinned woman, silent, calm, beautiful in a dangerous way. But this time, her smile wasn't pride. It was pain. "Tell me the truth," Ray said softly. She didn't look at him. "I gave you the gift. I showed you what you were," she said. "That was my promise, and I kept it." Ray's jaw tightened. "But there's something else, isn't there?" She closed her eyes. "For years I ran. From them. From the war. From my own kind. When you freed me, I swore I'd return stronger. And I did. But that strength came at a price." Ray turned toward her. "What price?" She opened her eyes again, and they weren't just glowing. They were trembling. "I wasn't the only one watching Earth," she whispered. "There are others, older than me, older than your son. They saw what I gave you." Ray stepped back slightly. "And they are afraid." The wind stopped. She continued, voice like stone under ice. "You weren't supposed to wake up, Ray. You weren't supposed to remember. Humanity was meant to stay small, scared, harmless. But we're not," Ray said quietly. "No," she agreed. "You never were." She turned slowly, finally facing him. "They're coming, Ray. Not to conquer, but to erase. You're a signal now. A flare in the dark." Ray's heart pounded. "How much time do we have?" She didn't answer. Instead, she held out her hand. In her palm floated a silver shard, thin, sharp, humming with impossible energy. "This is the first key. There are more. You must find them before they do." Ray stared at the shard. "What are they?" She looked at him with a face that could break stars. "They're the pieces of what you used to be." He took the shard slowly. It pulsed in his hand, warm and heavy, like it recognized him. "Will you help me?" he asked. She hesitated, and then her smile returned, not soft, not proud, but sad. "I've done what I can. The rest is yours." She stepped back and vanished into the wind. Ray was alone again, but this time, he knew what he was. He knew what was coming, and for the first time in 1,000 years, humanity was waking up. The next morning, the sky was the wrong color. It wasn't blue. It wasn't gray. It was bleeding. High above Earth, black ships appeared, not flying, falling, each one shaped like a blade, silent, no heat, no signal. Ray stood on the cliff outside the base, watching them drift through the clouds like shadows with purpose. He didn't flinch, didn't blink, because something inside him already knew. They had arrived, the ones she warned him about, the ones who caged her kind, the ones who buried Earth in lies and silence, the ones who feared what humans used to be. Now, they were here to erase it all. Ray's comm cracked. Unknown objects detected. Thousands. Possibly more. Static. Then silence. He turned back toward the base. Soldiers were shouting, running. Panic spreading like fire through dry grass. But Ray didn't move. He reached into his coat and pulled out the silver shard. It glowed brighter now, humming with energy that felt like memory. Then his other hand opened, and a second shard appeared. He didn't know how. He didn't question it. The pieces were finding him now. The earth under his boots trembled, not from fear, from recognition. Ray's blood pulsed gold again. His eyes lit like twin suns, and the wind screamed his name across the canyon. From above, one of the black ships noticed. It shifted, turned, and descended fast, toward him. People screamed, ran. But Ray stood still. As the ship neared, it fired a single black beam. It cut mountains, melted steel, burned time itself. But when it hit Ray, nothing happened. The light bent around him. The air cracked. And then, he stepped forward. Not running, rising. His body lifted into the sky like gravity had simply given up. The ship tried to pull back. Too late. Ray raised both hands, and the shards lit up like suns on fire. A wave of light exploded from his chi. It's not heat, not force, memory. Every human nearby dropped to their knees, clutching their heads, not in pain, but in awakening. They saw what he saw. They remembered. Power, wisdom, the truth. And they rose with him. From deserts, forests, cities, bunkers, the human race was waking up, together. The ship tried to flee, but now it was prey. Ray's voice echoed across the sky, deep and ancient. You came to erase us. He opened his palms and found something older than fear. With a burst of golden fire, the ship vanished, erased from existence. Ray floated back to the ground. The humans behind him stood in silence, awake, changed, ready. He looked at the sky. More were coming. Thousands, maybe more. But it didn't matter now. Because the truth was clear. They weren't hunting us anymore. They were running. We are no longer prey.